Hello, and welcome back to Bursting into the Scene, episode number 6. We're going to be talking about disrupting an industry. Welcome back, everyone. Thank you very much for listening, and I hope your day is well. Today, I know obviously this topic, you're probably looking at it and going, what does he mean disrupting an industry? It's not a bad disruptive where you're going to, cause major delays, or if your train's late, it disrupts my entire day. No, nothing like that. This is talking about how you can utilize your skills to break down the status quo. The word disruptive, what it means to me comes from Rob Moore, the business entrepreneur. He's interviewed many millionaires. He has a podcast called The Disruptive. He's interviewed Andrew Tate as well, and other, billionaires and millionaires. And I went to one of his conferences, and he always used the word disruptive. How can you be a disruptor? That's what he is. That's how he's done it. Being disruptive means being different. And, I think it's so important that what I talk to you about, you can take some advice from and go, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I don't want to be the same. It's a process. It's a massive process. And there are some key things that you always need to be able to do to make sure that when you're disrupting, you're doing it in the correct way. That's what I'm trying to do right now. I am on the journey of disrupting, being different, not doing things the same way, not doing things the normal way. And I'm not saying the normal way is a bad thing, because the normal way is your way. You have to make sure that you're doing it at your own pace. In my example, that was in football. I've obviously spoken about my journey, whatever. But now, looking from the business perspective, my way of disrupting in and leveraging my skills and knowledge was to break in and do something in this industry and this sector that I haven't seen before, that I know I can maximize to mine and other people's benefit as well. That was very important. And there are processes, and I'll talk about those processes that I had to go through and that I've been told to do as well, more importantly, in order to get to where I am and also where I want to get to. It's a long process. I'm not at the end of that process, but it's a long process. And the process isn't even very difficult. It just requires a lot of different things. Most importantly, belief. You have to believe in yourself. If you don't believe the process is possible, you won't be able to disrupt, because no one else is going to believe in disruption. If things are going a certain way, you have to, no one else is going to believe in that apart from you. If you believe that, then you're going to make everyone else believe that at some point. You have to convince yourself first. Number 2, you have to be prepared to do difficult things that maybe you don't want to do, but you know that they're going to have a long-term benefit. I'm sure this advice you've heard so many different times. For me, it was in the beginning, like trading time for skills acquisition. That's what I call it. Volunteering, networking, going to conferences, going to meetings, doing calls. Like I'd have 5-6 calls in a day at sometimes, speaking to different people, everything, trading so much time and energy to be able to develop conversations, develop soft skills such as negotiations and networking, speaking to people that are way above my league, being comfortable in that environment. It took a lot. It didn't just come naturally. No one really prepares you for it. You have to go out and do the work. I'm reading a book. I don't know if you saw, it was in the background, one of the videos, if you're on the YouTube. It's called the 0.1% Academy. And he talks about the thing that separates the elites from the very, very good is preparation. If you prepare yourself right, then when you go to execute, there's less unknowns, there's less anxiety, because you've prepared for it well, and so you deliver and execute at a high level. This is the exact same thing with business. This is the exact same thing with football. Sometimes you're thrown into the deep end and an opportunity comes up and you have to adapt yourself. But this is what I've, learned especially, is that it takes a lot of time to be able to get to a point where you can now be the leader, or you can now be the expert. You can break into an industry, but if you don't know what you're doing, or you don't you didn't prepare for that, you didn't prepare to break in, then it's going to fizzle out. It's not going to last. A lot of people are worried about lack of qualifications or lack of skills. That's where you have to go and now develop yourself. Go to conferences, go to networking events, speak to people, outreach, message, email, LinkedIn, Instagram, commenting, liking, everything you can do to just build yourself up so that when you get to a point where you're ready to go, and when you have to go, you'll be ready. You've built up that network and that body of skills and that body of, I know what I'm doing. I'm prepared. I believe in myself. And this is something that I am now ready to show the rest of the world. The thing is, you have to show. You can't tell. In this game, in this life really, you have to always convince yourself. And it can be hard, because if you can't convince yourself, you're not going to be able to convince somebody else. And that takes a lot of development, a lot of, failing and doing things and not doing them so well, and not being afraid of that as well. To go, right, I'm ready to do this. When I was young, I used to be so scared of failing. And when I say young, I mean 15, 16 years old. I was just scared of failing. And even when I started my career in football, volunteering, the first volunteering role that I took was at a football club, Ashton United. And I was just scared of doing things wrong within the first 2 months of the season. I was just playing it safe. I don't want to upset anybody. I don't want to get the ticketing wrong. I don't want to get the programming wrong. So I'll just make sure I do it safely and to the best of my ability. But then as I got good at it and I made mistakes, because you're going to make mistakes regardless, whether you're scared of them or not, you're going to make mistakes. I think one time I got a player's name wrong in one of the programs, because I was responsible at the beginning for writing out the lineups. And one time it was either I got a player wrong who wasn't starting, or I misspelt his name. But obviously we write it up and then they put that in the program, which gets sold out to everyone. And it was just so embarrassing. The person who I was working with just said, "David, you can't do that again." And I was like, oops, that was really embarrassing. And this is like 2 months into this volunteering. They've given me the opportunity and I've gone and done that. But next time, even that was such a small error, I would just make sure to proofread every single thing. It's still a mistake I make to this day in terms of proofreading and, typing things out. But I always just think about that example where I was like, do you really want that to happen again? I did make it again recently, but even then, and that was also pretty embarrassing for someone mistyping. But that is something that comes with it. You have to be prepared to do that. And then obviously as I built up, I started to do more roles within Ashton. And this is the first example. And eventually I got to a point where I was confident enough to go out on my own and leave that environment, having built up so many skills and being willing to make mistakes, being willing to then learn about where I made my mistakes. That's how I built up my skills. That required no qualification. That just required my time. And, obviously balancing that with uni as well and other things, I still had to make sure that I'm building up my skills on the side to do this properly. So that's something that I think is massive. It's kind of two things I've said really, is belief and skills acquisition, but those are two things that you can do. And now with the power of social media and the internet, you can go out and do so much more in terms of learning. That's what I do. Just try to learn from people who have been there. That's why people say your network is your net worth, because you can learn from people who have been there and have done that and have seen it all. And that's how you develop a lot quicker. And I lean on my network, and I'm leaning on my network more now than I probably ever have, because I learned that, these guys have seen and have probably been in a similar situation to where I am at the beginning. So how can I learn from them, because they're experts and they do really, really well. They're at the top of their industry. Why would I not want to be like that? Well, I can just ask them and really begin to learn, so that when I go and try to now do something different, and when I do it and it comes out in its form, they believe me, because I've shown them that I am me. I've taken elements of what you said and I've made it into my own, and I've just gone, bow, that's what I wanted to do. So that's a lesson to learn in terms of belief, but developing skills. And it's so important when it comes back to this idea of disrupting, you know, it is a really, you know, what's the word? It is quite an explosive word, but it doesn't necessarily have to have an explosive meaning. It just means being different. One thing that I think is beautiful in people is that, you know, you have the opportunity now to be whoever you want to be, and being confident in that. That's something that I've always struggled with, is not trying to be, you know, trying to lean into too many other things and influences, but trying to lean into my own. That in itself is disruptive, because if you can maximize that yourself, like I said in previous episodes, you have skills and people have talents. They just don't really let those talents show. You have the opportunity to disrupt in that way. It's just making the most of it. And, you know, I mean, you just have to utilize that power. And I'm not trying to be some like, oh my God, you know, prophesizer or something like that. No, I'm just trying to say it's kind of in there, but people don't really have that knowledge that they can go and access it. And it's only until you do something that then you actually realize, oh shoot, like, yeah, I can do that. I have that skill. Now I'm going to take it the next step and the next step. And suddenly I'm starting to make waves. I love that word, making waves. That's great, actually. I like that. So just do that. And it takes time. It takes a lot of learning, a lot of processes. There are so many different disruptors now in sport that have probably taken years to develop. I like the Kings League that Gerard Piqué has. That is such a disruptor, because we have never ever seen before that model of football. If you don't know what it is, go and research it. I don't have the time to explain. And unless he wants to sponsor me, Gerard Piqué, would you like to sponsor me? Then I won't go out and explain what the Kings League is. But that is the definition of a disruptor, because now it's becoming such a big thing, and it's still so new. It's only maybe 2-3 years old, I think, maybe even a little bit older. But it's a new thing that will take over. And the way that he's done it is really, really excelled to make sure that it does disrupt the football industry. AI is another big thing now. It's still relatively new in its formation, but in 5-10 years' time, AI is going to become the norm. That is a disruptor, and it's becoming a thing in sport now. You're seeing, you know, initiatives. Clubs are doing things now where they're managing by AI. Look at the metaverse, for example, and the Manchester City thing. Go and have a look at that. That's disruptive. That's massive. That's a big thing. VR is becoming another thing. VR headsets in football grounds. I saw for the Manchester United Fulham game, the first game of the season, on Twitter, there was a video of, I don't know if it was a cinema or something, where fans could sit in the ground, sit in a cinema and have like a seat that looked like they were in the stadium. And so it was incredible, unbelievable. That is disruptive. And the business owner who's probably done that, I don't know who it is, has probably spent 5, maybe 10 years. Because VR obviously has always been a thing, you know, virtual reality, if you don't know what that means. But tailoring it to football and now immersion and an experience, he disrupted the industry. He made it different. Wow, lo and behold, that is going to be viral. That's going to be massive. I personally believe that having virtual reality where now during the game you can have that fan experience without being at the ground is going to be huge. Every club, I imagine, especially the Premier League, the top level clubs, will be doing that and will sell that out. Whether it's the club, whether it's the league, he is now leveraged. He can leverage that. He has disrupted virtual reality. He's disrupted football and also fan engagement. 3 different ways of disrupting just by having an idea to go, right, I'm going to go and do this. And spent the time and dedication to, maybe that's an interview guest idea actually. I'm going to try and find out who did that and get him on, because that is so sick. That idea, when I saw that video, if you don't know what it is, type in Man United v Fulham virtual reality cinema. Have a look. That might come up, or it might lead you down a few rabbit holes, but eventually you'll get there. Unbelievable. Unreal. That thing just looked amazing. And I was just so impressed really with that whole thing. And the thing is, that's something that is doable. There's so many different, Carl something. I think it was Carl Davidson, I want to say. Anyways, he's also doing something. He's another businessman, and he's doing something around immersion and fan engagement that's completely different to anything I've ever seen before. With the Champions League, in terms of, it's like a bit of like a box park, but then you get like another cool, it's like a football theme park. And I would imagine that no one's ever thought that this is something that could be done. And it's like the 4-minute mile. Once one person does something, then everyone else thinks they can do it and start to break that record. But it took that one person to disrupt and to break the mold to move forwards. So you've just got to find, and you have to believe that you can do it because you have the skill set. And these people, the thing is, they believed in themselves. And when I heard a few of them talk about, obviously not the VR guy, because I don't know what his name is yet, but particularly like in Carl's situation, I really hope I've got his name right. That'd be really embarrassing if I've got it wrong. But you can tell that he believes in the idea, and rather than tell us how much he believes in the idea, he showed us diagrams of what he believed, and then that makes me believe, and that makes person number 2, person number 3, person number 4 believe, and that's going to make Football Club A, Football Club B, Champions League, all these sponsors believe that this is something that can be done. That was about disrupting the industry, and that is how he did it. And so, the thing is, that I'm talking obviously now in big scale scenarios. It doesn't even have to be like that. It can be, in everyday life. You go out and develop your skills. You can, if you're not going to start a business, you can become the lead in your role in the entire country. Go on social media and have a look at some of these coaches now who might run football academies, for example, but they've monetized it, because they now film things and they have content around it. They are now disrupting football coaching. Goldman, that's probably the best example. I don't know if you know who Goldman is. He's pretty much what I'm talking about. And I follow him for that reason, because he's teaching me actually a lot about, I know to some person it might just be, he's just a YouTube content creator. But to me, I see more than that. I see business in what he's doing. The way that he clips things, the way that he puts things here, puts things there. He is disrupting it because he's doing it deliberately to get the attention of the engagers, of the watchers, and then he has it in a specific order, and that's how he monetizes it. That's how he makes himself relevant, and that's how he's now driving his own business through just owning a football academy, which not many other people do. And pretty much because he's the mainstay of how to do it, I now see other football coaches and academies do similar things, and I'm like, okay, that's pretty interesting, that's pretty unique. Now obviously some people don't know how to do that, but there's a disruptor there, and soon I reckon it'll become a standard in terms of everyone is going to have social medias, if they're coaches, if they're even football clubs, whatever, and they're going to do it in this way. But it took that one disruptor to do it first. And it's not even about doing it first. It's maybe that he wasn't even the first one, but it's to do it better than everyone else. And he disrupted social media management in sport coaching and academies. So that was very interesting. And that's an example of someone who put that time in because he developed his craft. And he's not even like multi-skilled. It's just normal striking academy. So that's pretty interesting. And again, it just takes a few things to think about. Fan tokens, they were disruptive. I remember there was a period where every single club pretty much had a fan token to a degree. Socios, that was it. I'm not sure where they are now because I think fan tokens are a bit dead. But every single club at some point had, even #United had fan tokens, and people were paying money for them. Some people were just paying money for virtual assets that they couldn't even hold or touch, that football clubs were just giving to them apparently, as part of an immersive experience. Someone had to come up with that idea. He was a disruptive individual. And that really shaped and reshaped the way that football clubs engage with their fans, particularly in a time when there was a lockdown. So these ideas, these strategies, and he probably didn't even invent cryptocurrency or fan tokens. He just found a way to package it into sport, package it into football. You can be an industry leader in sports psychology. You can be a psychologist at a football club, and you can go from being just a regular psychologist to being the recognized psychologist in football. Swindon Town have a podcast. Not Swindon Town. There's kitmen at Swindon Town who have a podcast. They are kitmen, but because they decided to, video it and talk about being kitmen, Now they get sponsorship deals and they have players that come on, and they were smart, they were clever because they disrupted kitmen. Everything, if you think about it in a way of business or not in a way of opportunity, has a way you can break and disrupt that specific niche. It's just about, can you notice it? Can you work around it? And that's something that I'm learning and developing, and also something that I'm seeing amongst other people. And it's really cool when you see it as well. So that was pretty awesome. And I think anyone can be disruptive. Any individual now has the opportunity to be disruptive. It's just, how do you go about doing it, and how do you learn about doing it? I've heard and learned a lot about being disruptive, and you have to be careful though, because you don't want to be disruptive in terms of just treading on too many toes. That's not a good thing either. You know, reputation is a big thing. If people don't like you, you don't have to like you, but if people just see a bad human being, then that's not really going to help your case. So you have to be smart with it. But there's many different ways around it, and there's a lot of lessons you can learn from it too. It's fascinating. So thank you very much. And I know this is a bit of a brief one, but I've got more episodes coming up and some exciting things along the way. I am really, really loving this podcast. I'm excited to see where it goes, and I hope you guys enjoy it too. Thank you very much for listening, and I will see you in the next episode. Take care and peace.